Welcome to Manual Work is a Bug, a podcast about the future of work and life with artificial intelligence, with your hosts, Hillary and Matthew Black.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Manual Work is a Bug.
Yes.
I was thinking about when we used to have this podcast and you introduced the podcast and the way that you introduced it.
How did I do that?
So you would go, hello, welcome. Do it.
Hello. Welcome to Manual Work is a Bug.
Exactly.
That's what I would do?
Yeah.
That's weird. We do have to tell people to follow us where they can follow us and get wherever they get their podcast.
So welcome, everyone, back to Manual Work is a Bug. This is the 5th episode of the 2nd season of this podcast. And this is a podcast that is about the future of work, the future of technology with artificial intelligence.
With Al.
With Al. I am your co-host, Hillary Black, and I am the head of brand at MAV.
I am Mr. Matthew Black. I am the founder of MAV. Just an all-around rad guy, though. You know, Mr. Rad Guy.
Mr. Rad.
Sorry, I'm just trying to hype myself up a little bit.
Yeah, so that's what they call you, Mr. Rad, Mr. Matthew. And yeah, if you have never tuned into this show before, we talk a lot about work, life. As you said in a previous episode, you don't really want to refer to it as with AI as a way of being like online on the internet. But hopefully we'll eventually be still recording this.
Just as modern life in the workplace, just a couple of millennials doing their thing. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah. So if that's for you, then you can watch us on YouTube. You can subscribe to the show on Spotify, connect with us on LinkedIn, anything, and we are everywhere. So with that, today's episode, we have a few different topics that we want to talk about. But the first thing that I kind of want to get into, which I have not read at all, but I know that you have because you love a good manifesto, is Mark Zuckerberg's manifesto that he came out with this week.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
I mean, what's it about? Like, what's it like? I guess also a previous episode, we talked about Jack Dorsey's block manifesto. You know, a lot of manifestos are out there all the time, so I would love to know kind of just the summary of what did he have to say about things. Meta definitely is sometimes at the forefront, sometimes a little bit copying what other people are doing, sometimes chasing things, sometimes starting things, sometimes shutting them down with like the metaverse.
Yeah.
Now they are in this new way, so I would just
you're not still on the metaverse?
They shut it down.
No, I know. I'm making a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so first off, it's big. It's long. It's a lot. I think everyone, if you're interested, go read it. Obviously, there's a huge part in the middle where he's hyping up their version of what Meta's doing with AI. But I think around that, there are a couple things that I think we are in a really good spot with how people are thinking about AI. And namely, so we talked about Jack Dorsey a couple of weeks ago, where he had it wasn't a manifesto, it was just his version of how he envisions AI in his companies. And he's doing his own thing, which is just open sourcing a bunch of stuff, which is rad, great. Like, Jack is the kind of guy who does his speaking with actions, right? Yeah, so there's his version, and then there's Mark's version, which I come to really appreciate the type of leader Mark is. Obviously, you guys saw The Social Network back in the day. Like, he's grown a lot. I mean, he was a young dude, and now he's very mature business leader. I come to appreciate that. And one of the things that, there's this thing that I think a lot of people try to sell with AI, which is we're entering this period of abundance, and like, you know, with AI, like anyone can have anything and everything, right? And I like sat with that a little bit while I was reading this, because I was like, oh man, is this going to be a cheap, like, kind of like, we're going to sell you abundance and like everyone get on board? And it's not. It's not that. But like, there is something I want to share on this podcast. Like, do you remember a couple of years ago? I don't think you came on this trip. It wasn't a couple years ago. Maybe it was a year ago. I was on a panel in the Ann Arbor area where it was this documentary guy who made like a film with AI and like a bunch of other people on it. And like there was something that came up on that panel where it was like, hey, like, who's in control of AI, and are you afraid of who has control of AI? And like, this was only a year ago. It wasn't that long ago, right? And I had said something, I don't remember my exact words, like maybe it came off weird, but like I had said something along the lines of like, it doesn't matter. What matters is that not everyone else has access to it. Like, forget the few that do right now. Who cares? Like the rest of the world needs this as fast as humanly possible. And like, I feel like there's something there where like there's a whole portion of really capable, smart folks deciding you or you, rather than why not everyone else. And I feel like like Mark did a really good job of like telling that side of the story with AI. And they've actually come out with a couple of cool things. I think we're going to talk about that personal model that runs locally, which is super cool. And then like, I've always been the type of entrepreneur that believes like anyone can do anything. Like, I'm a living case of that. I've came from basically nothing to where I'm at now, and like I've never been more inspired to continue to create. And I was like, I feel like, and maybe this is like my version of a hot take right now, I don't know, but like I feel like we have this really big problem where everyone's like all this is locked up for the rich, and only those that are privileged can have this technology, and it just fucking isn't true. Like, it's not true. And like one of the most insane visualizations of like this narrative violation is like, when's the last time anyone's gone to the library? Like, we just went there. Yeah, we just went there with our son. Our son loves books. And yeah, maybe we live in a nice part of Vegas where the library is nice, but like the library is really nice, and it has everything there for free, and it has like, and it's just there. It's just wealth of knowledge, just wealth of information. And like that also is happening with AI right now. And like there's this fake narrative that like this isn't accessible to the rest of the world. Like, and I feel like that's wrong, and we got to figure out how to deploy this to everyone as quickly as humanly possible. And like Mark did a really, really good job of making that part of the core values of Meta. And I actually believe that there's truth in there, and they're showing it a little bit with their products. So like, forget all the other shit. Like, any company that is going to get behind like making AI democratized and like accessible for everyone, and then let the chips fall where they may, I think is as good of a strategy as we could have right now, versus Sam shouldn't have it, Dario should have it, or like the government should be in control of it and they should like decide who gets it. Like, wrong. Give it to everyone and let it figure it out, right? Like, and I think Jack and Mark are very much on that like thought process, whereas Sam and Dario are like, absolutely not. But you know, they got a lot of their skin in the game, so they want it, right?
Yeah, well, and they also haven't been through a different but kind of similar iteration to this, where it's like the algorithms, like I feel like there has been so much, even seeing Mark Zuckerberg like in core, like talking all about like the algorithms and all the problems with everything and like the data and everything like that. So they have sort of become more untrustworthy to the public, which could also be why people just don't really want to believe him, that he's like, this is for everyone. It's like, okay, but Facebook, Instagram are for everyone, and like, look at what that did to different like aspects of people. Yeah. Or, someone like Sam and Dario, like they haven't had to already go through that changeover. So they're still in the mode of like, I want it all. I need it. I want it. And I think that maybe Mark and Jack are like, we know how this will go.
That's interesting. So are you saying, because obviously Jack has been very public about the algorithm stripping you of your free will. Like we have like these algorithms that force feed content to people. And, as a 15-year-old girl in high school, that could be extraordinarily dangerous, right? So are you saying that because Jack and Mark have lived through that, I don't know, experience, they now look at AI in a different lens and like, hey, let's try something completely opposite with it, rather than Sam and Dario thinking they can control the algorithm and the distribution and
right and have more power over it. And I think that, yeah, it's worth trying something else, because it's not that like, Twitter and Square and Block and Facebook or whatever aren't successful businesses despite the issues that some of those platforms had. But I think that seeing what it can mean to give everything to everyone, like the way that all those platforms started and how things can be a lot more special that way, could be something that they are kind of a reason why they want to write manifestos about it.
Yeah, and I mean, he did bring up very good points. Like, one of his points was that, like, some of the biggest innovations we've had have not come from, really big foundational companies. They come from two brothers in a bike store who think they can fly, and then they make a fucking plane. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the kind of, like, and that's true. Like, innovation starts from just, like, extraordinarily unique thinking by the few who have nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? Like, and I do think like we're at a point where the amount of like just resource that anyone can have has never been cheaper, never been easier. And I hate this narrative that like, oh, like, lucky for you, like, you have access to this stuff. It's like, no, it's there. Like,
well, yeah,
open up your eyes. Go to the library.
Public library.
Yeah.
And
where, like, you can literally sit down in front of any computer and, like, they have, like, the 3D printing and, like all this stuff is just there, like, waiting. And, when I go to the library, I see these kids sitting down there and they're, like, Roblox programming, like, because it's free there. And they leave school at 3 p.m. They sit in front of this computer. They probably do it until 9 p.m. when they got to go home and go to bed. And it's like, I don't know. I just, I think that optimistic sort of thinking is like what we need. Because like the other point he brings up, I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about this, but like these are like cool things to talk about. The other thing he talks about is like how could someone who thinks that this is going to kill everyone's job, reduce the purpose of humanity, like actually push for that future? Like, there's no way that like Sam and Dario can actually believe this and push for that future unless they have perverse incentives, right? Like, which they do. Like, and if you could just get rid of that, and like someone like Mark, who I think like has incentives, of course, but like nowhere near the amounts of those two, right? Like, you can think about it in a much more free way. And like I do believe that those guys are better free will thinkers, whether it's because they've gone through the hard trenches themselves, who knows? But I don't know. I like the manifesto. I thought it was the right line of thinking. We need more people who are willing to fight for access for all rather than the few. And yeah, I mean, I think Jack has taken a good step forward with just open source, free. And if Meta's going to pile on top of that and say, we're going to make it so you can run these models locally on your machine it reduces the reliance on OpenAI and Anthropic and like truly tries to like democratize this stuff, like hell yeah, man. Like we need the pirates back.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that, and this is kind of similar to when we were talking about codecs and like devices and everything, is like the internet was free. Like you have to, have like phone service, but the access to things back then, which is the time in which Mark started Facebook, like Twitter was started, like it was free access to all people for the internet. And like this could also be that, and maybe they're coming at it from that way where they're like, this can be the new thing that we want everyone to have. And if it is going to have an impact on people's jobs and livelihoods and everything, like let's give it to those people that it is going to impact so they can figure out what their future is in all this.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons the internet was required to be open and free is because that's what was needed for innovation. Like, we wouldn't have any version of the internet today if it was closed source. Like, even email is a great example. That was one of the first protocols on the internet. Like, there would be no way we would have these open protocols which power the entire internet if it was closed source. And like, that's the thing. Like, I think if there's ever a fight to be had there, it's more of everything from everyone and at every place, right? Because like all this competition like helps neutralizing things, and like we can't have someone owning like a slice of this, because then they are going to control the distribution of this. And like so more local. Like I think Apple is probably onto something very like the new CEO John whatever his name is. I'm very excited to see what he's going to do, because I know they're going to do a version of AI that's local on the phone. And I think that's going to be extraordinarily important to like not have to rely on these huge compute and data centers.
Yeah, so I'm curious, because this is also something that I don't know about, but I know it exists, is like Glimmer and like can you first like explain what it means to like run AI locally on your machine? Because that's not something that I am that familiar with, or our listeners like might not be too.
Yeah.
Why would someone want to do that? Like, what does that do?
Wait, so like before we even talk about that, like, what do you think?
What do you mean?
like I just like talked for like 30 minutes. Like do you like? Because we talk about this a lot. Like, we always talk about how special the early days of the internet was. Like, we're internet kids. Like, it was always so like special. Like, we like grew up. We like identified. Like, we vibed with like the internet. Like, are you feeling any of that right now
About AI?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, and seeing things through some like business lenses too, and just knowing like how expensive it is to run things and how like the access kind of is a problem. Like, for example, in my like conversation design online course, we're having a lot of issues with students being able to use free accounts to like learn how to do this, and because it's like token based, it is really expensive, so they can't do it. And so we're like, how do you decide which tool to use? And those types of decisions were never anything that I ever had to think about when I was growing up. Like, you got mailed a CD of the internet that was free. Like,
well, you had minutes though. Wasn't it like 200 minutes?
It was. I think it was like 90 minutes. But like, you were literally like mailed free internet, and you know, these companies are not mailing it for free. Like, there are free plans, but the limits on that are significant. And so I think that like it doesn't feel as like shiny and hopeful, and that's why I am curious about this kind of like the local models, or like what are people doing to make this be more accessible. And that's when something like the public library, you know, it's funded by the taxpayers, like there is reasoning for programs to exist. I don't think that we in any way have gotten to a point where like we know how to do that, or that we're set up in a society that like could do something like that without it being like some sort of like shady deal or something like that. But like, you know, to go to a public library and be able to use like Claude Professional or whatever, or like get licenses through things like that. Like, I think all of that is so important. And I do think a lot about, and like the ways that I like to, you know, create with AI, or just even like brainstorm or like dream of things or do things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Like, I do love to do that. But there are limitations in cost, there's limitations in skill, even though it is very like you can do it by like asking it, like it still is kind of like barriers to people. But I think that like it definitely is inspiring to me.
Yeah, but like I just want to like keep going there because I feel like something's happening. Like there's like a narrative, fuck AI, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like I like and to a certain extent, I get it, right? Like I don't want AI generated art. I don't want AI generated music. Like that's weird. But like has some of that narrative like come across and it's like I will never use AI for my business. I will never use AI for like, you know, to do certain things. Even though I don't like doing them, I'm not going to use that thing. Like,
it's like a pride.
Like, yeah, and like, I guess another way of saying this is like, I feel like in the early days of the internet, everything was cool. You know what I mean? Like, everything was like, you never got bashed for doing something on the internet. And maybe you did, and maybe we were too young to realize that. But like, I don't feel like you ever got bashed for doing stuff on the internet because like, it still was pure. Like, it still was like, it was like this thing that was considered almost kind of like an art form. Whereas like now I feel like everything is just like such a thing. And I don't know how to describe this, how I'm feeling, but like it's very hard for someone to come out with something in today's super intelligence of AI, right? And for people not immediately to be like, oh, that's like, no.
Yeah, I think it's
like shame on you for even trying.
Yeah,
right?
it's partially like some of the issue just being the size of the internet and like the reception of things is like when you were on the internet before there was like 10 other people who were looking at your thing or like you're coding up your MySpace for like your 100 friends. Now you're posting something on LinkedIn or Product Hunt for like millions of people. And so I think just the size of it is showing the negativity a lot more. And I think there obviously are people out there that they do believe in it and they do like it. And there's a big group of those people. But there's also a culture of like a sense of pride of just like saying that you're not going to do it. And I don't know that it was like in the beginnings of the internet where there are people like, I'm never going to get on the internet because I'm going to write down my
I feel like there
book
wasn't.
forever.
Could you imagine that? Like this awesome, cool thing where it's like, I can put this in a little email and set it across the world instantly, you know, versus I'm going to handwrite this and I'm going to put it in a note and I'm going to drop it off at the mailbox and it's going to take 7 to 14 business days. Like, was there people like...
I'm sure there were. I think like trust is part of it, of like people maybe didn't trust that it would arrive there. Or there's also like an art form. I mean, it's similar to like journalism. Like there's people who still get the newspaper because they want to support that and they love that medium and they love to physically have the thing and they don't want to just like read the New York Times on their app or whatever.
What's that new book that came out by Peter Diamandis and it has foreword by Ray Kurzweil? It's called like We Are Gods. I like started reading it and then I like forgot about it.
You mentioned it on a previous episode.
So there's a chapter in there. It's like one of the first chapters and he talks about how like we're at a period of time where like the rate of innovation, our brains are unable to comprehend. And there's like this visceral effect where we're trying to reject the change because we cannot handle the rate of advancement, right? And I wonder if like there's some of that going on where it's like, I can't understand all of this. It's bad. And like, I don't want it. Like, and like, which in one hand is totally understandable, but the other hand is like there might be some good stuff in there too. Like, you know what I mean? Like just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's automatically bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think people like don't trust what they don't know in today's world, or they assume the worst of everything just because like they've been burned by society in some way, or by any of the things. And especially again, to go back to like Mark Zuckerberg, like people don't trust him and they like have a reason of why they
why don't you trust
him.
CEO bitch?
Hey, I mean, I have to give him credit when you were talking about, you know, his manifesto and his past. And I know I was like giving a little shit about the fact that he wrote one and like the way I might feel about him. Like he still is with his company. Like after all this time, like he's still the CEO of the company that he started way back in the day. And even Jack, who like I also have feelings about, like he left, he came back, he left, he came back, he sold it. Like he didn't stick with it forever. And like Mark has stuck with it like through its ups and downs and bad decisions and good ones. And so like I do give him props for that.
Yeah, I mean, look, like it's so easy to look at some of these guys and give them shit. And look, like I'm sure there's a lot of things that like off the record they would be like, yeah, that was fucking stupid. Like, and I'm here to say that I'm 100% certain of that, even though we will never hear those things. But like this is hard stuff. Like, I mean, remember that one time when he was in front of Congress?
Yeah,
and
that's
they
what I was
just
thinking about.
Grilled him. Like, I want to see one of these people who are like terrible CEO get up there and do that for just 1 second. Like, it's hard, and like mistakes are made, and it's never gonna. Well, it's never gonna. Okay, there it goes. So for our audience, yeah, we have curtains up on the wall, and it's been slowly coming down the entire episode, and now it just fell off. So anyways, yeah, I just want to be an optimist for as long as humanly possible, and I think that line of thinking is healthy until it's not, right? Like, so anyways,
yeah, so you want to find the glimmer in your eye or whatever.
Wait, are you talking about that model?
I'm talking about
model?
glimmer. Yes,
yeah.
I am. I really do not like the name. Like, I just have a reaction to it that I just do
Glimmer?
not. I don't feel that they are great at naming their products. Like, that's just not the way that I know. It's just not what I would have chosen. I don't know if what I would choose, but that probably wouldn't be it. But yeah, I want to feel optimistic about like this creation of kind of like personal use of things like to yourself and by yourself and the way you want to do it. So I would love to just know more about that because I don't know anything about it. And this was kind of like, yeah, what came up more recently, but I feel like it's something that we've been thinking about and talking about.
Yeah, so the idea of local models I think is huge. I inevitably, I knew it would always come here. I actually think it's going to be a lot more positive moving forward. Like the idea that you can, like, we're in this trend of owning things. Like people are like, they want like DVDs now or something. Like, is that what's happening? I don't know. Like, which I love. Like, I love the idea of owning things. I have my own servers at my own house. Like, I love that idea. And this model that Meta just released, Glimmer, it's a local model. I think it's like 30 billion params or whatever. So it's small enough to run locally, but still very, very capable. It's not going to have a lot of the logic and reasoning of like some of these big models, GPT and Opus and Fable and such. But like for like everyday task of like checking email, writing email, like checking your calendar, like doing things locally, I heard it's amazing. I've not had the chance to download it. It's funny because when I went on the website and I looked at the use case, one of the use cases was setting up Home Assistant, which we just set up in our house because I was like looking at like Control4, what's the other one? Savant. There's another one too, which is like, these things suck. They're like terrible. And we have a buddy who's in the home automation space, and he's like, these are bad. And they're bad because they're closed source. Sorry, I'm not supposed to yell, but they're closed source. And like when you have one company who's like, I can do the whole thing and control the whole thing, you get junk. So Home Assistant's an open source automation platform, and they used this example where they're like, make a dashboard where I can control my AV receiver. And it just like went to Home Assistant, like read the API docs, like created a connector, like saw that it used Sonos or whatever, and like built this dashboard. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like that would take days of programming effort, but because you have one open system talking to another open system and like a local LLM, like you download this free thing, you do this, and all of a sudden you have a Savant competitor for free.
How did you do it?
Home Assistant?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm a bit of a programmer, so I did a little bit of that, but like I'd rather do it this way, right? Like this is way cooler, easier. Like as a programmer myself, I still rather do it that way. But I picked it just because I knew this is where things would go. But again, like
I'd be curious for you to redo it using that and see how it is.
yeah, no, I should. We have the lights. I want that would be actually a good use case. But like that's my point, right? Like that's all free. It could run on like they could run on a Neo, I guess. The new cheap $500 laptops. Like a $500 laptop that has a local LLM that like can build a local home automation. Like all of these things were like really, really expensive closed source things like 12 months ago. And everything's just kind of changing. And like for them to even pick that demo, I think says a lot about the ethos. I know there's a lot going on in Meta in their AI department that has a lot of disruption right now, but like I don't know, like it's cool, and I think we need people pushing that side of the story.
Yeah, I think also when you're kind of describing too about it running on the less expensive like Macs and everything is similar to how the way we were saying how we experience the internet as kids is like then the people who could be using this are kids. Like kids who are wanting to learn how to build things that, you know, they and their parents like don't necessarily trust them, like using OpenAI, like going where that goes and like all of that kind of stuff that has, you know, potential dangers like for kids, but they still want to be building stuff and doing all of that. Like this can be a way that they can have access to that and they can own something and do something that is like just theirs, which I think is like to me the most special thing.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean like for us back in the day, like there was a lot of dangerous parts of the internet.
AOL chat rooms.
Well, I mean, to name a few, right? And maybe like our parents were worried about that. And this is the new version that parents have to worry about, which is like the curation of it. I wonder if it being local and like, yeah, if that helps address some of that stuff. I haven't thought about any of that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's wild.
It is. So one thing I wanted to talk about, which I found the most interesting about seeing this news, is that the only way that I knew anything about this manifesto and Glimmer and everything is because I got an email from LinkedIn telling me like how hot of a topic this was. And I had not seen one piece of information about it, like not one LinkedIn post, not one article anywhere in like all of my algorithms, which I think just speaks to how different yours and my algorithms are from each other. Because I'm sure you saw
I saw it right away. Yeah.
Think pieces about what people think about it and all of that. And I saw none of that because what I saw was the OpenAI brand trip, which I don't think that you know anything about.
I don't know anything about it. What is it?
So do you know what a brand trip is?
Brand trip?
Yeah, so like a brand like pays a bunch of influencers to go on a trip.
Oh, a brand trip. Okay, yeah.
So have you heard that OpenAI had one?
No, oh, God, I can't imagine what happened.
So there has been a lot of talk about OpenAI's brand, like influencer brand trip on, you know, marketing, brand, LinkedIn, and everything like that. And I have a lot of theories about it, but just to kind of like paint a picture to you about like what happened here and what people are saying about it after the fact is, so OpenAI paid 20 or so influencers to go to this luxurious camp in the Catskills.
When we say influencers, who?
So it was mostly like lifestyle type of influencers. It was
so like real like content creators, like so
content
not people
creators,
in tech.
not tech journalists, not people in tech, and I will explain this later too as part of my theory, not people who already talk about OpenAI and ChatGPT. These are just bloggers, I'm sure tech adjacent people who use it, who, you know, interact with it. They brought them to this camp in like the Catskills that was like super luxury, eco-friendly camp. They had like outdoor dinners. They did all of this like nature walking, and they had like beekeepers, which is all very strange for OpenAI tech company. And the response has been so much hate. Like there has been so many posts about this. There's been so much hate of like it's so like hypocritical of them to like have beekeepers and like do all this environmental things when like they're so bad for the environment. They brought all these influencers who didn't say anything about their products. They didn't unveil any products.
I was going to say, what was like the thing that they're hoping to get out of it?
So this is like the main thing that I think that every person who has had their like hot takes about this got entirely wrong about this trip, is that brand trips as a whole, typically they're in like fashion and beauty brands. Like Benefit is like a makeup brand that will like fly people to Greece to like have a brand trip. And it's a ton of money. They don't really get that much return out of it as far as like people posting about it while they're there and all of that. And I've seen people say like they clearly didn't give these people a brief. They weren't posting these, you know, videos about the experience. But that's not what the point is. They don't sell experiences,
yeah.
But also, the point is not we need these people to be promoting OpenAI and everything, is because for an influencer, what more would you want to do than go on like a super luxury trip for a brand and not have to pay for it and get paid to go, right? And what does OpenAI need in order to promote their ads platform? Who sells a lot of ads? Influencers. And these people who are these influencers who are watching these people that they follow on this trip, who have been talking about, I built a Claude assistant to do X, Y, and Z for me, are now going to want to be in the good graces of OpenAI, start talking about ChatGPT. Maybe they'll get invited on the next brand trip. So it really is about shifting the perception of ChatGPT and OpenAI into this lifestyle influencer market as being a more known top-tier brand that works with influencers, that does these types of experiences, where Anthropic doesn't do that. They don't have brand trips.
They're focused on work.
They're focused on work, but also they're not activating this audience that is super actively talking about brands, to brands, interacting with brands, doing commerce on social media the way that OpenAI is about to do it.
Wait, are you saying...
They didn't
I might
care
be so
that they
far
got
off
hate.
base, but like, are you saying that they're using these influencers as a proxy to get to the brands?
That's what I think.
In prep for advertising?
That's what I think.
Wow, that's like
get my tinfoil hat out for this one, I think.
No, I mean, that's crazy. Like, obviously, look, I think they're sitting on the advertising network. I think it's been ready. I think for many reasons they have delayed it. Maybe public perception, maybe a few things, right? But they need money really bad. Like, it's going to get really bad really quickly here. They may have their shot at the public market, but like very quick, like as soon as you go on the public market, I mean, look at SpaceX. Like as soon as you go, immediately you need to start delivering, right? And like everything could be in prep for that. It's crazy to believe that they wouldn't have the advertisement ready for them, though.
I mean, the trip is not about an advertisement. Like the trip, and I think this is what a lot of people are missing when they're saying, like, I haven't seen any posts about it, or they didn't make, like, I'm at the trip and here's the experience that we're doing, is, for one, all of tech journalism already knows about OpenAI. They already have picked their models. They're doing what they're doing. But the audience of these influencers are seeing these people are on this trip. It looks super cool, like all of that. And like, what are they going to do? Have them like have a sleepover at a data center? Like, no, like they're going to do this, and they don't care because the amount.
That would be hilarious. So that's actually something like an event that happened.
It reminds me of that the meme of Sam Altman like at the data center.
Oh, those videos, yeah. Which, by the way, I watched a little documentary about that guy. He has such a cool setup. He makes all his videos with AI. And he talks through his creative process of doing it. Super cool. We should link to that. But that's one guy who's like, I love making art with AI, and he's like doing a really good job of it. It's also satire against AI, which happens to be really hot right now. But
well, and I think that no matter what they would have done for some sort of influencer activation, brand trip, whatever, they would have gotten hate about it. But the way they did it was they got the maximum amount of hate about it. So they got more press about this event than they ever would have if they would have given them the perfect brief. So they still are getting people talking about it. And I'm sure they didn't think that, like, let's go get a bunch of hate. But they did think, let's start working with these influencers who are very used to telling their audience how to shop for things, how to go to link in bio, how to do the different like affiliate linking of everything, and say to them, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's what we believe in. And then when that is ready, they can make tons of videos saying, I go to ChatGPT and this is how I find out what brands are this and this is how I shop for things. And that is all incredibly easy to create. Yeah. I don't think that like selling it as this huge luxury experience is something that they were like not wanting to do. I think that's exactly what they wanted to do because this is the audience that they need who does shopping. Like that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, my gut tells me in just hearing about this, I haven't seen any of the pictures or anything, but my gut tells me is like this is they need to fix perception. Like I think if you were to rate tech companies, I arguably think Meta would be at the top right now. Like really? it would be like the Meta companies cuz like Instagram is still like a very like Instagram is where people go to talk trash about like the data centers, about like AI, about everything, but they don't realize it's all very, very connected. But anyways, like I think Meta would be at the top. Maybe Apple would probably be a little bit higher than that, but and then there would be like, you know, the SpaceX and X and Tesla, and then there would be like OpenAI at the bottom. Like I think OpenAI has really done a poor job of, and it's their own fault. Like they've been pushing the narrative just as much as Dario, but because Anthropic's for work, like it doesn't get the public outlash like OpenAI does in GPT. But like they push the narrative that like we're coming, like and we're coming for everything, right? And then they've done that to raise money and like show the impact of the value they've delivered, but they haven't done a good job of showing how like it can be good, except for we need more data. We need more, and we're not going to stop at anything to get what we need to do, what we got to do. And like my gut tells me like this might just be their really not well thought out attempt of fixing public perception. And if they do it through influencers, cool.
I mean, if their effort was to poorly change the perception through trying to act like eco-friendly, that was not the right thing. Yeah. But I personally think there's obviously a lot of very smart people who work there, and they knew they're going to get hate about it. Even if they did something that was like completely on brand to them, they still would have gotten hate for doing it because that's what brands get when they do brand trips. Like that's well known in the influencer industry is that like those are not good ROI, but there's clearly a reason that people keep doing them. And I think the way that people talk about them and the amount that people talk about them and what that experience does to that top tier of influencer who wants to work with brands like that and wants to get invited on these trips, like that's who they want to reach.
It's crazy. I thought influencers aren't even a thing anymore.
They are. But again, that just kind of shows the difference between the worlds that our internet is, I think.
Yeah. I've like remembered like the whole thing with Morphe and like that whole thing going on. And they're like, so for the audience that doesn't know, Morphe used to be a makeup brand. They built their.
They still are.
Who even owns them at this point, right? Anyways, but they built the whole business off of influencers. Something happened with like one of the influencers.
There was a lot of drama in the beauty community.
And then they had to pull the thing, and then their sales went like this. And they're like, oh, we built our entire business off the back of influencers. And then as the influencers went out the door, so did the business. And it was a huge like, hey, maybe we shouldn't grow our business off of influencers moment.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's my theory about it. You know, I have no idea if that's true, but I just have been thinking there has to be more to this, and that is just kind of where my thoughts led me when I was thinking about it.
Or there's just nothing to it. And
exactly.
There's just a bunch of people with a lot of money trying to do everything and anything, and that means you do a lot of things half-ass.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, though. It was not a half-ass trip. It was a very nice trip. And sure, I would love to go on a brand trip. I would love to throw a brand trip if anyone was giving me the budget to do that. It seems like a fun and cool thing to do.
Should we do a brand trip to a data center? Like show up with like sleeping bags and be like,
yeah, Overnighter at the data center, sponsored by Mav. You're all invited.
That's horrible. That's not something we're gonna do.
No, we'll just stick with MavCon, which is, the most fun.
Yeah. That's fun. We're fun people. Hang out with us.
Exactly. We're fun people. We have a fun time, and we will not be visiting a data center for a field trip. Well, that's all I have for today.
Yeah, it was fun. Lots going on. I think I will forever be an optimist. Like, I will forever believe that if we can just get all of this into everyone's hands and we believe that it's there for us to do what we want to do with, like, there will be gems in there. People will figure some really cool stuff out, and like new things are good. Like, so I like when I see leaders talking that way, and I dislike the fear that some leaders put out there, because that's not good. It's not a good way to live.
Well, I like that. I like being an optimist, and I think that's a very good way to leave it.
Yeah.
So
Got to wake up and think tomorrow's going to be better. Like, that's a good way to think. We need more of those thinkers.
So if you've made it this far, this is Manual Work is a Bug. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe.
Follow us, subscribe wherever
Be
you
an
get
optimist.
your wherever you get your podcast. Go smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, thanks.